In this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to apply a really pretty background to this lovely subject. If you've been following the demonstrations on this, you'll have seen how the hair, face, arms, hand and dress work out really well. And I've used just the 6 pencils that you see here. So I've got to choose colours from those pencils to put in the background. Now what I'm going to decide to do is to use those 2. I want to keep it simple. I don't want anything too complicated. When you start the background, let's just start from this side. I'm going to start with the white, and I'm going to put a good layer of white on the whole area. Now I'm taking my time because I want to go as close as I can to the subject without touching it if I can. Now it may be that from time to time I will, but you'll see at the end of this demonstration how I can go back in to the subject and make sure that we pick up any background colours that have strayed. You know, just as I say, I'm concentrating on this, so forgive me if my narration falters. It's really important to get it right, and you want to keep it as solid as you can. Now I won't bore you and show you the whole thing because it'll be, first of all, very time consuming and rather boring to see the same thing over and over again, but just to see this section. Another area I'm going to show you, I'll come in once I've put the background on here, I'll show you, because we've got to melt the subject into the background here, which is really interesting to see. Now, we look forward to that. And then once you've done that, I'm going to turn this round. I'd like to use my finger here because you get a far better blend. But you can see the problem. How am I going to get in there? Well, if you've been following here, you'll know that I've used this colour shaper. You can use a paper blender for this as well. If you haven't got one of these, you'll just have to go back in with the white again and blend it. It works. We've got another colour to put on here anyway. But if you've got one of these, you can get really close to the subject without touching it. Like that. There we are. All done. Now that's important because when I put the second colour on, I don't want that second colour to touch raw paper. Let me show you what I mean. This is the colour I'm going to be using. I'll retrace my steps over this area. Don't put too much of this on. We can always put a second coat on if we need it, but the idea is to have a nice smooth tone in there, and this was the reason why I spent a long time making sure that white was blended well into the paper. I'll just leave this section so you can see the difference between one and t'other. Now that I think is just about right. When you blend this with your finger, you get a very pretty pink, as you can see now. Same thing will apply here. If I go close to that, I'm going to touch the subject. So get close as you can without, and colour shaper can be used for the rest of it. There you go. A little bit more. So I'm going to continue with that all round the subject. Like that. Now, I said I'd bring you in when I got to the bottom. Well, now this is where it's interesting, but we've got to bring some other colours in as well. Now, let me just blend that to start with. This is with the white now up here. We can now just pour some of that colour that we've got at this end into the background, like that. I'm going to put a little bit more in there in a minute. Okay, and then we blend this with our finger so it's nice and smooth. Same up this end. I've just blended the pink into that. And so, how do we do that? Well, we put some more white in. And the idea now is to bring this colour and melt the subject into it. And you see we've got some ochre here, so we'll have to introduce these other couple of colours as well. Now, I haven't made that quite as strong as the rest of it because I want it to accept these other tones now. You see that? Just bring the colour up into the subject, and then we'll bring the colour back down into the background. It's one of the few mediums, pastel pencil, that you can get away with this. There we are now. Now the pink. Now the pink can go in as before. But when we get to there, we see we've got some other colour. So let's bring the other colour in. Go to about there. Let's do one half at a time. That can be blended. Now here we're going to introduce some ochre. And some red ochre. That's 187 and 183. And blend that. There you go. Look at that. Now that's a bit of pastel pencil magic, folks. Now let's carry on up here. We've got the other arm to worry about yet. This can actually be right up to here now. And the ochre. And ready ochre. Well, we're getting there, but we're not there yet. Because now we've got to bring down the colours in here as well. Quite honestly, that's almost acceptable, but not quite. Now, this is the colour we use here. This is the 194 in the Faber range. So we want to bring that, a little bit of that in. And I'm also going to use the 187. And do this a little bit at a time now, until you feel you got it right. Remember, we can go back over the subject. That's looking good now. There. So let's bring some of this colour now down into it as well. This is a colour we've been using together with this. In fact, there's a couple of ways you could do this. You could, if you wanted to, and it is going to be your picture if you decide to do this, you could just fog it like that. That would look good. So you just bring it down. There's several ways you could finish that, but I would kind of favour it really. Kind of blend it almost in a cloud. Now that really does look something else. And there's no reason why you can't add some of these colours anyway. Because you've got such a good base on this, these colours will blend. Now keep some of the colours separate like that. Don't just put them all together. Let me show you that again. You just leave some of the trace of the colour there, like that. Now that does look rather special. We can also bring some white back in, because this is a little bit ochre, whereas here we've got more white, so we can bring the white back. And you can play with this as long as you feel it's working. But I think that is really nice now. And once again, we can pull that one down so the leg's extended. Like that. And I think if we put just a little bit of this colour over here, suggesting the dress is also being pulled into the background. Now that is really something else. The only thing I would say is that up here it's left wanting a little bit. So what we've done down here we could do up there. Now let's turn this up on its end. Add a little bit of these colours in. They're going to match because they're all in the picture. Particularly on the corner, because it's the corner where we're going to be giving a little bit more strength, and I think I'll use this one for that. And let's have a little bit of ochre as well. Do this in little sections. What I also like to do is put a little bit of white as well in, to a little bit of light over the head. Now let's just see what that looks like when it's blended. I turn it the other way around so you can see. Not going to be very strong, but it's strong enough and interesting enough to create effect. You see that? Let's do the other side. And I would leave it at that. I think that is absolutely stunning. Now what you've got to do though, when you get this far, is you've got to go around the edges. And I would suggest we go around the edge with the 187 and blended that in. And possibly even the dark brown, which I used. Now, if you're only doing this dress background demonstration and haven't seen the rest of this will probably be foreign to you. But it gives you an idea of how we can actually finish off a picture of like this kind. Not a lot to do, because I was very careful and not touch the edge. Now here I just use this 187. You don't really want that to be, you certainly don't want to use the dark colour in there. And that's it, folks. Finished. Now that's been a great project. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've only done the dress, well, you might like to have a go at the skin, the arms, the hands, face, and the hair. I look forward to seeing you on another project soon. Bye for now.